For decades, we were told Canada couldn't build its own wings. But imagine a scenario where they were wrong. Consider this strategic hypothesis. While the Pentagon expects us to wait 7 years for foreign jets, a bold new path emerges. We're talking about the potential of building our own. This hypothetical $6 billion Bombardier-Saab partnership in Mirabel wouldn't just be a factory. It represents a projected 40,000 jobs statement for Canadian sovereignty. In this analyzed vision, delivering made-in-Canada fighters in just 18 months proves that our skies and our jobs belong to us. If these projections hold, this is the sovereign comeback we've all been waiting for. Let's analyze how this game-changing scenario could actually happen. While the world awaited the American jet, Canada achieved the unthinkable. 40,000 jobs, $6 billion. And the Pentagon was utterly powerless to stop it. Welcome to an in-depth strategic analysis of a hypothetical scenario in January 2026. We're analyzing the leaked Project Northern Sovereignty, a groundbreaking collaboration between Bombardier and Saab. This isn't just about a new fighter jet, it's about Canada reclaiming its dominance in aerospace, saying no to the Pentagon, and building a $6 billion manufacturing hub on Quebec soil. If you remember the spirit of Avro Arrow, you need to see how the calculation of sovereignty has changed our future forever. Look, everyone, lean in and really listen to what I'm about to tell you, because what happened in that final 48-hour window before the official announcement in this hypothetical February 2026 is nothing short of a geopolitical earthquake that has shifted the very ground beneath the Pentagon's feet. We are talking about the kind of move that hasn't been seen in this country since the mid-century, a moment where Canada finally looked at the global defense monopoly and said, enough is enough. We are taking our destiny back. Can you feel that? That's the pulse of a nation finally waking up to its own potential. You have to understand that for 7 years, we were told to wait, told to sit in the back of the line while our own aerospace industry stayed stagnant. But then comes this leaked memo, this Project Northern Sovereignty, and suddenly the math changed so fast the Pentagon couldn't even find their calculators. We're talking about a $6 billion investment that isn't just a number on a ledger, it's a fortress of economic independence. Think about it, 40,000 jobs, not just any jobs, but high-skill, high-wage Canadian jobs that are now locked in for the next 30 to 40 years. Do you realize how massive that is for our provinces? The Pentagon officials, they saw the leaked documents just 48 hours before we went public, and you can only imagine the panic in those halls. They scrambled, they made the emergency calls, they tried to reach our defense minister with demands to cancel, but the answer they got was the most beautiful thing I've heard in decades. This is happening. Your 7-year timeline created this. Deal with it. Imagine the silence on the other end of that line. It's about time someone stood up and told them that Canadian soil is for Canadian workers first. This partnership between Bombardier and Saab at the Mirabel facility isn't just a factory, it's a declaration of independence. We are talking about a joint venture where Bombardier owns 60%, a majority stake that ensures the decisions that matter are made right here in Canada by Canadians. This isn't some licensing deal where we just bolt on parts shipped from overseas while the real profits and the real technology stay in Sweden or America. No, this is full spectrum production sovereignty. We're talking about 24 to 30 Gripen E aircraft rolling off that line every single year with the capacity to surge to 36 if the world goes dark. Do you understand what that means for our security? We aren't just building fighters, we are becoming NATO's alternative supplier, a direct competitor to Lockheed Martin right here on North American soil. The Pentagon tried everything. They tried the threats, they tried the diplomatic notes, they even tried to offer us priority consideration for the F-35. But when our minister asked for a specific date, they had nothing but empty words. That's when the room went cold for them. Why would we wait until 2029 or later for a single jet when we can build an entire industry and have our first made-in-Canada Gripen delivered by the fourth quarter of 2027? That's only 18 months from the signature. Can you believe that? 18 months versus 84 months. That's not just a faster timeline, that is a total annihilation of the old way of doing business. And let's talk about the money, because this is where the Pentagon truly lost the war of numbers. They came to the table offering 2,000 assembly jobs, 2,000 against 40,000 Saab Bombardier jobs. It's a joke, isn't it? It's a total insult to our intelligence. Our cabinet looked at that Lockheed proposal for 15 minutes before laughing it out of the room. One minister literally asked, "Is this serious?" And I can't blame them. When you have a $6 billion domestic investment, that generates a 14-to-1 return on investment over its lifetime. You don't walk away from that for a few crumbs from a foreign manufacturer. We're talking about $86.4 billion in total economic activity over 30 years. Show me a politician in Ottawa or anywhere in this country who is going to stand up and tell 40,000 workers and 6 provinces that they're canceling that kind of future because Washington is upset. It's not going to happen. The political math is untouchable. We have 8,000 direct manufacturing roles, the elite of our aerospace sector, earning $85,000 a year on average. That's a total payroll of $680 million every single year flowing back into our communities. Then you have 22,000 supply chain jobs spreading through Ontario, Manitoba, and Quebec. Every province that has a piece of the aerospace pie is getting fed. This is how you build a country. This is how you ensure that when our kids go to university for engineering, they aren't looking for a move to Seattle or California. They're looking at Mirabel. And the beauty of this Gripen E technology transfer is that it is complete. We're talking about the design rights, the source code, the manufacturing processes, the quality control, everything Saab knows, Canada now knows. We aren't just the mechanics anymore. We are the architects. We control the export rights. We decide who gets to buy these jets after the initial partnership period. This is the sovereignty we've been craving since they cut up the Avro Arrow on that dark day in our history. Can you imagine the pride of seeing a Canadian-controlled fighter jet being exported to Poland or Romania? The Pentagon is terrified of this NATO Cascade because they know that once Canada proves it can be done, the monopoly is dead. They're watching the dominoes fall already. Within weeks of our announcement, you've got Poland asking for the same deal, Romania scheduling visits to Mirabel, the Czech Republic expanding their own partnerships. They all want what we have, a way to protect their skies without being held hostage by a 7-year waiting list and a foreign supply chain that can be cut off at any moment. This is a strategic defeat for the old guard because they forgot one simple rule. You can't stop math. You can't stop the reality of 40,000 families who now have a future because we decided to build something here. The Pentagon's own leaked internal assessment from March 2026 says it all. We entered negotiation already defeated by mathematics. They knew it. They knew their offer was 95% lower on jobs and 93% lower on investment. How do you even show your face in a meeting with those numbers? It's embarrassing. But that's what happens when you take an ally for granted. You think we'll just wait forever, pay whatever you ask, and accept whatever scraps of labor you throw our way. Well, those days are over. The Mirabel facility is 2.4 million square feet of precision infrastructure that is ready to go. We don't need 5 years to build a new plant. We are modifying what we already have and will be operational in 18 months. That is the Canadian way: efficient, smart, and bold. We are taking the existing expertise of Bombardier, the people who know how to build the best business jets in the world, and we are pivoting them to defend our north. This isn't just about the planes, it's about the sensors, the software integration, the electronic warfare suites that will be made in Canada. We are talking about a generation of technicians who will be specialists in the most advanced delta wing technology on the planet. Does that fire you up? Because it should. We are finally seeing a defense policy that isn't just a shopping list, but a national building strategy. When people ask why we didn't just stick with the F-35, you tell them 40,000 reasons. You tell them that sovereignty isn't something you buy, it's something you build. You tell them that when you have the chance to be a global leader and a second production hub for one of the most capable multi-role fighters in existence, you take it. You don't ask for permission. The Pentagon tried to use the defense cooperation framework to scare us, hinted that maybe our relationship would change if we went our own way. And what did Ottawa do? They drafted a response, delivered it, and proceeded anyway. That is the kind of backbone we've been waiting for. It shows that when the economic reality is this strong, diplomatic pressure is just noise. No Canadian Prime Minister is going to kill a $45 million annual tax revenue stream just because someone in Washington is pouting. This is about our taxes, our workers, our steel, and our sky. We are looking at a 30 to 40 year horizon where Canada is a permanent competitor in the global fighter market. Think about that. For the next 4 decades, we aren't just a customer, we are a rival. We are the alternative for every nation that is tired of the delays and the high costs of the American monopoly. We are the new choice for NATO. And it all started because we decided that 40,000 Canadian jobs were worth more than a seat at someone else's table. This is our table now, and the world is starting to realize it. I want you to think about what this means for your community, for the person down the street working in a machine shop, for the kid in school dreaming of space. This project, this northern sovereignty, is for them. It's for every Canadian who ever felt like we were just a branch plant economy. We are the head office now. We are the ones holding the blueprints. And as we move forward into this new era, we need to remember this feeling, this moment of realization that we have everything we need right here. The $6 billion is a lot of money, sure, but the return, the 14.4 to 1 return, that is the legacy we are leaving for the next generation. We are building a future where Canada doesn't just participate in the world, we lead it. Are you ready for that? Because the factory at Mirabel is already humming, and the first Made in Canada Gripen is closer than you think. Stay tuned, because in the next part of this breakdown, we're going to dive even deeper into the specific technology we're taking control of and how this entire NATO Cascade is going to change the face of global defense forever. We're just getting started. We need to talk about what is actually happening inside those 2.4 million square feet at Mirabel in this hypothetical 2026, because this is where the sovereignty part of Project Northern Sovereignty gets real. We aren't just talking about assembling a kit. We are talking about total technology mastery. Do you realize that for the first time in our modern history, Canadian engineers have the full source code for a frontline fighter's electronic warfare suite and sensor fusion? That is the holy grail of modern combat. The Pentagon tried to keep us in a black box relationship with the F-35, where if a sensor fails or a software update is needed, we have to wait for a technician from Fort Worth to fly in and plug in a laptop we aren't allowed to touch. Not anymore. At Mirabel, we are building the Made in Canada brain of the Gripen. This means when we need to patrol the high Arctic, we can optimize the radar ourselves to distinguish between a Russian cruise missile and a migrating flock of birds in a snowstorm without asking for permission from a foreign capital. That is true independence. And let's look at the timeline annihilation I mentioned earlier from a different angle. Why is 18 months possible? It's because the Bombardier-Saab partnership didn't start from zero. They utilized our world-class civil aviation infrastructure and pivoted it. Think about the brilliance of that. We took the precision manufacturing that makes our business jets the best in the sky and applied it to a Delta Wing fighter that can land on a snow-covered highway in the Yukon. Can you imagine the sheer versatility? The Gripen E was designed for the Swedish Bas 90 system dispersed operations. It's a plane built for a country that shares our rugged, cold weather DNA. While the F-35 requires a pristine, multi-million-dollar hangar with climate control just to keep its stealth coating from peeling, the Canadian-built Gripen is being prepped by a crew of 6 Canadians on a roadside in the middle of a blizzard, refueled, rearmed, and back in the air in 10 minutes. That is the operational reality of defending a coastline as vast as ours. Who wouldn't be proud of that? But Here is what really keeps the Pentagon awake at night: the export control structure. This is the secret sauce of the 60/40 Bombardier-Saab split. Under the leaked terms, after the first 5 joint export customers, Canada gains sole authority. We become the global hub for Gripen support and sales in the Western Hemisphere and beyond. We are talking about a 30 to 40 year life cycle where every spare part, every software patch, and every airframe upgrade for allies like Poland or Romania could potentially flow through Quebec. We aren't just a manufacturer, we are the new support superpower. When a Romanian general needs a wing component in 2035, he isn't calling a 1 to 800 number in the States. He's calling Mirabel. Can you feel the weight of that influence? And what about the workers? We talked about the 40,000 jobs, but let's talk about the skills. We are training a generation of Canadians in additive manufacturing, 3D printed titanium structures, and AI-driven maintenance. These are the sovereignty skills that will bleed over into our entire economy. When this factory hits its surge capacity of 36 aircraft annually, we will have a workforce that can build anything. The Pentagon's internal March 2026 assessment admitted that Canada's manufacturing sovereignty creates a permanent competitor for the next 30 years. They use the word permanent. That's not a temporary setback. That's a new reality they have to live with. They realized that their monopoly wasn't broken by a better sales pitch, but by a better partnership. Saab offered us the keys to the car. Lockheed only offered us a ride in the back seat. Ask yourself this: if you were the CEO of a major aerospace firm in Ontario or Manitoba, where would you put your R&D dollars? Would you put them into a foreign program where you have zero intellectual property rights, or would you put them into the Mirabel supply chain where you own the patents? The answer is obvious. That's why we're seeing a $1.4 billion annual economic impact across the provinces. It's a gravitational pull that is sucking talent and capital back into Canada. We are seeing a reverse brain drain. Engineers who move to the US in the 90 seconds are looking at this $6 billion powerhouse and they are coming home. They want to work on a project where they can actually see the blueprints. The Pentagon's desperate 48-hour stand was a failure of imagination. They thought Canada would fold because we always have. They thought the review of defense cooperation threat would make us tremble. But they forgot that 40,000 jobs is a political shield that no diplomat can pierce. No prime minister is going to commit political suicide by killing the largest industrial project in Quebec's history to please a foreign defense contractor. The mathematics of 14.4 to 1 ROI is a God mode cheat code in politics. It makes the decision bulletproof. As we look toward 2027 and the first delivery, remember this: this factory is a monument to what happens when a nation decides to stop waiting. We waited 7 years for a delivery date that never felt real. We waited for a seat at the table that was always at the far end. So, we built our own table. We built it with Canadian steel, Canadian brains, and a $6 billion conviction that our sovereignty is not for sale. The NATO Cascade has started, and Canada is the one pushing the first domino. From Warsaw to Bucharest, they are looking at us and saying, if the Canadians can do it, why can't we? We have become the leaders of a new movement of industrial liberty within the alliance. So, to my fellow Canadians watching this, be proud. For the first time in a generation, we aren't just participating in defense, we are defining it. We have faced the pressure, we have looked at the numbers, and we have chosen a future where we lead the sky. The Mirabel facility is more than just a building. It's a promise that Canada will never again be left waiting in line for the tools to defend our own home. What a time to be a Canadian. The monopoly is over, and our era has just begun. What's your take? When that first Gripen rolls off the line with a maple leaf on the tail and Made in Canada stamped on the fuselage, how are you going to feel? Drop a comment below. I want to hear from every one of you who believes it's time we soared on our own terms.